After meeting with Rubio and Witkoff, Zelensky suddenly started talking about a document he called one of the toughest and most complicated in Ukraine's modern history. Almost instantly, the information space exploded. We're talking about certain agreements with the U.S., which reportedly contain provisions that shocked even some Ukrainian politicians. In the corridors, people immediately started whispering about intense pressure, tough demands, and serious concessions that would have to be made. All this sparked a wave of guesses and speculation. What exactly is hidden in the text of this agreement, and what consequences could it have for Ukraine? After all, hardly anyone could have predicted such a turn of events. Greetings, viewers. Subscribe, leave likes and comments on our YouTube platform RITVUA, and in turn, we'll get started. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio held a meeting in Munich. Zelensky also spoke with the special envoys of U.S. President Donald Trump. Zelensky noted that during the meeting with Rubio, the topics discussed were the situation at the front and Russian strikes against Ukrainian energy infrastructure. They also discussed strengthening protection against the cold and the diplomatic process. One of the topics discussed during the meeting was how to help Ukraine with air defense missiles during the cold season, according to the president's office. Among other things, the parties talked about the planned negotiations with Russia in Geneva and agreed that they should yield results. It is important that the planned negotiations in Geneva are effective, and I thank the United States of America for their constructive approach. They also touched on the issue of the sequence of steps. It is important to make progress on security guarantees and economic recovery, the president added. After meeting with Rubio, Zelensky also held a phone conversation with Trump's special representatives, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The topic was preparations for the trilateral negotiations that will take place in Geneva. Not everything can be discussed over the phone, and our negotiating team will present Ukraine's position next week. We greatly appreciate that America always maintains a constructive approach and is ready to help protect lives, Zelensky added. It should be noted that the new round of trilateral negotiations between Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S. will take place on February 17th through 18th in Geneva, Switzerland. Ukraine will be represented by National Security and Defense Council Secretary Rustem Umerov, head of the President's Office Kirilo Budanov, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Andriy Hanatov, head of the Servant of the People faction David Arakamia, as well as First Deputy Head of the President's Office Serhiy Kislitsia and Deputy Head of the Main Intelligence Directorate Vadim Skibitsky. The team has been formed taking into account the military, political, and security components of the process. We will work on concrete decisions within the framework defined by the head of state, wrote Rustem Umerov. He added that the goal remains unchanged, a stable and lasting peace. In turn, President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, stated during the Munich Security Conference that Ukraine cannot agree to withdraw troops from Donbas